Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Mara and this is part 3 of our video about how to make a mask. And at the end of video number 2, I was adding texture to the mask and then we were going to leave it overnight. This is the key part that we really need to be careful of, particularly with the hybrid system that we're doing now. The clay needs to dry out enough to hold its shape and be leather hard. We'll still be able to carve into it if we had to. But it's firm enough that if you take it off the mold, it'll still hold its shape. The big concern is if you leave it too much to dry out and it gets bone dry, as the clay has begun to shrink, the mold won't shrink underneath it. So, and the armature is the mold. So what happens is the clay will dry out, shrink, and crack because it's got nowhere to go. So timing is crucial. You probably want to come in the morning, check on your piece, and keep it wrapped up until you're ready to let it dry out. Now, you can wrap it up. If you're going to be gone for 5 days, you might want to put a wet piece of paper towel around it and then put the plastic bag over it. I just put the plastic bag over it and it worked out just fine. I took the plastic bag off of it this morning and it's still gray, it's still wet, maybe a little too wet, but I have my helper here right now and he's going to help me. And the thing to keep in mind is you don't want to damage it. This one has a big beak on it, so it's going to be harder than most of them. Most of them, your helper, and you should have a helper come with you in case I'm doing computer graphics in another room. They can even rest their hands on the ground. This time he's going to rest his elbows and leave room down here for that beak. And then we're going to start peeling out the armature from underneath. So Emmanuel's going to help me with this. And again, we want the clay to hold the shape. Oh, the other thing, wait a minute, there's 2 things that I want to tell you first. You could put some paper in here to support, when the beak is wet, you could put newspaper or paper towel in there to help support it. And we'll take that out before we put it in the kiln. But that will help to support it until it's dry enough to hold its shape. And because the beak is wetter and the eyebrows were a little, not wetter but thinner, I waxed them to make them dry a little slowly. Okay, so Emmanuel, you're going to hold your hands out that way and you're just going to cup that, and I'm going to come in here. It's easier because of the saran wrap to pull the mold out. This one's going to be a little tricky. Whoop, it actually worked pretty well. Because sometimes it gets stuck on all these little things. So now what we're going to do, you can keep holding it the way we're holding it. What we're going to do, oops, yeah, put it down in more so people can see what we're doing here, is we're going to peel this out of it and then hold that thought. If anything needs to be changed, it's still wet enough to change it. So if I have any cracks in here, I can go in with some water and a sponge and deal with those cracks on the inside. Okay, we want to make sure that the holes that we made go all the way through and that we smooth anything out. And then, thank you, Emmanuel, we can put it this way. And we want to make sure, like for instance, the jaw on one side is the same as the jaw on the other side, because if it's wet enough, when you put it down, it might just be that it's changed shape. Okay? So then you can put it on the drying rack that says leather hard, waiting to be bisque fired. You can pull this out so that dries a little more. And you can fix any little details that you may need to fix to make it seem very smooth and well refined. Okay, if there's anything sticking out, you can actually add. This clay's still pretty wet, so you could actually add to this if you needed to, or refine your details or your texture if you need to. Okay, so fine tune and then leave it to dry. Once it's dry, you're not going to be able to change its shape or its textures, not easily anyway. So now's a good time to do all that work, but be very careful because it's very fragile. And all the excess clay you can still reuse, so you're going to wedge it all back together, clean your mold, and leave it in good shape for the next person. Okay? So have a good day. Thank you.